Have you ever had one of those mornings where getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain? Not because you're tired, but because your knees, hips, or back are already screaming before your feet even touch the floor? I've been there. I know that feeling all too well. For years, pain was the first thing that greeted me every morning, and the last thing I felt before I drifted off to sleep, or tried to at least. If you're over 60, maybe you've been told that aches and pains are just a normal part of aging, that it's just something we have to live with. And maybe you've even been handed a bottle of pills, told to take 1 or 2 every day and sent on your way. But what if I told you that chronic pain doesn't have to be your constant companion? That there are real, practical ways to ease that pain without relying heavily on medications that come with side effects, brain fog, and risks we don't always talk about. In this video, I want to share something deeply personal. I beat chronic pain after 70 without leaning on heavy medications. No miracle cures here, no magic pills. Just a few real changes that made all the difference. And if you're hurting, frustrated, or even feeling a little hopeless right now, I want you to know this: it's never too late to feel better. So let me take you back a few years. I was 72 and dealing with constant pain in my lower back and hips. Walking from the bedroom to the kitchen felt like I'd just run a marathon. And every doctor visit seemed to end the same way: another prescription, another refill, another side effect. I got to a point where I wasn't sure which was worse, the pain or the pills. One morning, after a particularly rough night, I sat on the edge of my bed and made a quiet promise to myself. I said, there has to be another way, and I'm going to find it. That's where my journey began. The first thing I looked at was movement. I know it sounds counterintuitive when you're in pain. The last thing you want to do is move. But I started small, really small. At first, I just stood up and stretched my arms to the ceiling every morning. Then I added gentle movements for my neck, shoulders, and back. I didn't even call it exercise. I called it waking up my body, and it worked. Little by little, I added more. I found a 10-minute chair yoga video for seniors on YouTube. The first time I tried it, I felt ridiculous. I was stiff and wobbly, and I kept thinking, is this even doing anything? But a few weeks in, I noticed something. I could get out of a chair without using my hands. I could walk around the block without stopping halfway. My pain didn't disappear overnight, but it started losing its grip on me. The next big shift came with what I was putting into my body. I'm not here to tell anyone to throw out all their favorite foods, but I started noticing how certain meals made me feel the next day. Heavy fried foods? More stiffness. Sugary desserts? My joints flared up like clockwork. I started swapping a few things: white bread for whole grain, soda for herbal teas, red meat for salmon now and then. I didn't make it a diet. I made it a choice. And you know what? I felt lighter, not just in my weight, but in my joints. I had fewer flare-ups, and when pain came, it wasn't as sharp. One thing that really helped was adding turmeric to my food. I'd sprinkle it into soups or stir it into a little warm milk at night. It became my evening ritual, soothing, comforting, and surprisingly effective. But physical pain isn't just about the body. I realized that the more stressed I felt, the worse the pain got. There were days when I'd wake up in a bad mood, and by noon, every joint in my body felt like it was under attack. So I started finding little ways to relax my mind. Not anything fancy. Just 5 minutes of deep breathing with my eyes closed, or sitting outside with a cup of tea, watching the birds. Those quiet moments helped more than I could have imagined. I wasn't just treating my body, I was calming my entire system. Of course, none of this happened overnight. There were plenty of setbacks, days when I wanted to give up, moments when I thought, maybe this just isn't going to work. But I kept going, one small change at a time. When I look back now, I see that pain tried to make my world smaller. It wanted me to sit more, do less, and accept a life that felt dimmer. But every stretch, every healthy meal, every mindful breath was my way of pushing back, of saying, "No, I'm not done yet." And if you're listening right now, I want you to know you're not done either. Pain may be part of your story, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. You have more control than you think, more strength than you know. Let me tell you what happened next. I didn't just reduce my pain, I reclaimed my days. I started gardening again. I took walks with my neighbor. I slept through the night without waking up in agony. And for the first time in years, I felt like myself again. It's not magic, it's momentum. And once you find that rhythm, everything changes. Once I found that rhythm, I didn't want to lose it. There's something empowering about taking back control from pain. It doesn't mean the pain completely disappears, but it does mean that you decide how much it runs your life. And that shift in mindset is huge. The next thing I did was something I had once brushed off as silly. I paid attention to my posture. Sounds simple, right? But I'll be honest, over the years, I had fallen into habits that were hurting me more than I realized. Slouching while watching television, hunching over when reading, leaning on one hip while standing. All of it added up. So I started practicing sitting upright with my feet flat on the ground, shoulders back, neck long. At first, it felt awkward, like I was trying too hard, but I stuck with it. I'd catch myself slouching and gently correct it. Over time, it became second nature. And surprisingly, my back started to ache less. Even my breathing felt easier. I hadn't realized how much tension I was carrying just from poor posture. Then there was sleep. For years, I thought I just had to accept restless nights. I'd toss and turn, wake up stiff, and start the day already behind. But sleep is when our body heals, and without it, no amount of stretching or clean eating will fix the problem. So I made my bedroom a bit more inviting. I swapped out my old pillow for one that supported my neck better. I started going to bed at the same time every night, even on weekends. And I created a wind-down routine. No screens an hour before bed, just soft music or a good book. And something I found incredibly helpful, a warm bath with Epsom salts. It relaxed my muscles, quieted my mind, and signaled to my body that it was time to rest. I won't pretend I became a perfect sleeper overnight, but I noticed a difference. When I slept better, I moved better. When I moved better, I felt less pain. It was all connected. There was also one small addition that made a big impact: magnesium. I had read that many older adults are low on it, and since it helps with muscle function and relaxation, I figured it was worth a try. After speaking with my doctor, I added a magnesium supplement and noticed that my legs didn't cramp up at night as much. My muscles felt less tight, and I recovered quicker after activity. It was such a simple fix, but it opened a new door for me. Another game changer was discovering how powerful my mindset really was. There were days when the pain still showed up, sometimes out of nowhere. But instead of sinking into frustration or fear, I started practicing gratitude. I know it might sound strange being thankful in the middle of pain, but it helped me shift focus. I'd think, yes, my hip hurts today, but I can still walk. I can still breathe. I can still enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning. That little change helped more than I can describe. I wasn't ignoring my pain. I was choosing not to let it steal the joy from the rest of my day. I even started writing down 3 small things I was grateful for every night. Some days it was as simple as sunlight on my porch or a good laugh with my sister. But over time, those little moments added up. They reminded me that I was more than the pain I felt. Now, I know not everyone's pain story is the same. Some of us are dealing with arthritis, others with nerve damage, or old injuries that never fully healed. But I truly believe that no matter where we're starting from, we can take small ones, steady ones that move us forward. One of the hardest parts of dealing with chronic pain is the isolation. It can make you feel like you're the only one going through it. Friends don't always understand. Family members try to help, but don't always know how, and it's easy to just stop talking about it altogether. But connection matters. So I joined a small local group at the community center. Just a few folks my age, meeting once a week to talk, stretch, or walk together. Being around people who get it made such a difference. It reminded me that I wasn't alone. We'd share tips like which creams worked or how someone's heating pad became their best friend, and we'd cheer each other on. It didn't cure my pain, but it cured that feeling of being stuck in it alone. Another habit that took time but paid off was mindful walking. I used to walk with my head down, just trying to get it over with, but I changed that. Now I walk slowly, mindfully, paying attention to how my feet touch the ground, how my spine feels as I move, how the air fills my lungs. It's not about speed or steps, it's about reconnecting with my body in a gentle, respectful way. Every walk became a quiet reminder that I was still here, still moving, still living. When I think about it now, I didn't just beat chronic pain, I transformed my life. I learned to listen to my body instead of fighting it. I started treating myself with care instead of frustration. I stopped waiting for someone else to fix it and started being the one in charge. And if you're still watching, I want you to know something. It's not too late for you either. No matter your age, no matter how long you've been hurting, change is possible. Relief is possible. And it doesn't have to come in the form of more pills or another round of prescriptions. There's one more piece of this story I haven't mentioned yet, and it might just be the most important. I had to forgive my body. I know that might sound odd, but after years of struggling with pain, it's easy to fall into resentment. I used to think, why can't I just move like I used to? Why does everything feel like a chore? Why me? That kind of thinking wore me down more than the pain ever did. So I stopped fighting my body like it was the enemy. I started thanking it for what it could still do. I'd say, "Thank you, legs, for getting me through this walk." Or, "Thank you, hands, for making breakfast this morning." That tiny shift helped rebuild a kind of trust between my mind and my body. And that trust gave me the patience to keep going, even on tough days. Another change I made was in the kitchen. I began thinking of food not just as something to enjoy, but as medicine. And no, I didn't go on some fancy diet or start counting every little thing. I just paid attention. I cut back on foods that made me feel bloated or especially processed snacks, too much sugar and fried foods. Instead, I added more fresh vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats like olive oil and avocado. And let me tell you, turmeric became my best friend. I started using it in soups, stews, and even tea. It has natural anti-inflammatory properties, and over time, I felt less stiff in the mornings. I'm not saying it's a miracle, but when your joints feel like rusty hinges, every little bit helps. Hydration, too. I didn't think water could make much difference until I realized how much better I felt when I was consistently drinking enough. My joints moved easier, my skin looked healthier, and I even had more energy. It's funny how something so simple can be so powerful. But if there's one message I want you to take from all of this, it's that small steps matter. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Start with one thing: a morning stretch, a 10-minute walk, or swapping soda for water. Then build from there. You'll be amazed at how those tiny shifts begin to reshape your days. There were times I slipped up. days when I didn't stretch, when I ate junk out of frustration, or when I sat for hours and told myself I was too tired to move. That's okay. What matters is not being perfect. What matters is getting back up again and again. That's how you build something that lasts. I know how easy it is to give up when you feel like your body is turning against you. But I'm here to tell you, you are not broken, you are not too old, and you are not alone. I found healing not in one big fix, but in dozens of small acts of care. And each one reminded me that I still had power over my own story. I wasn't just a person with pain, I was a person with strength, determination, and the ability to adapt. Maybe your path looks different from mine. Maybe you have more challenges or fewer, but wherever you are in your journey, I hope this gives you hope. Because once you start treating your body with kindness, everything begins to shift, not all at once, but steadily, quietly, powerfully. And if you've made it this far, I want to thank you not just for watching, but for being open to change, open to healing, open to the idea that your best years aren't behind you. They're still unfolding, one step at a time. So here's what I'd love. Take a moment and share your story in the comments. What has helped you manage pain? What works? What doesn't? And what are you still hoping to try? Your story might just be the spark someone else needs. If this video helped you or gave you something to think about, please give it a like and share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing this community, one filled with wisdom, courage, and support for each other. Living with chronic pain after 70 is hard, but it doesn't have to be hopeless. With patience, the right habits, and a little bit of self-compassion, you can feel better. You can move better. You can live with more peace and freedom than you ever thought possible. You've made it this far for a reason. Don't stop now. Here's to living your best life at any age. Your journey might look different than mine, and that's okay. What matters is that you take the first step, and then the next, and trust that each one brings you closer to a better day.